Hello AOS fans, it's the Agents of Sigmar, and in this video we're going to tell you all about why we really like Mutant Year Zero Zone Wars. So we've done a video all about Zone Wars, how it plays, and what you get in the box if you buy it. So do go and check that video out if you haven't already, because it might give you a bit of information about whether you want to buy this game. But first, before you do that, listen to us to why you should play it. So we've played a few games of this, and we've played, I think it's fair to say, a decent number of different tabletop skirmishy games over the years. Well, more than two, yep. So we wanted to just give people a quick summary of what we do and don't like about this game to help you out there decide whether you think it's worth buying. Yeah, I'm sure the title of this video will be something like, is it better than Necromunda? Yes. Yeah, it is better than Necromunda. It is better than Necromunda, but that depends on what you want out of a game. I think it's fair to say that we like simple games. We are simple folk. And this has like 4 stats. That's it. You've got 4 stats and a ruler. That's pretty much all the things that you need to look up. Yeah, it's like a Final Fantasy book, really. It is, yeah. I really like how easily it plays, how easy it is to see who's who and what they do, to pick up. I think. And Barney McGrew. Yes, we said in our rules overview video, the core actions are very simple. There aren't very many of them. You kind of know each turn what you're going to be doing. Despite that, it does have some key little decision points. It does. Where you have to think, well, do I flee? Do I run into combat? Do I try and nick an artifact before my opponent does? Which I really like. It's not a we go system. It's an sort of an alternating random choice system. So you don't know whether you're going to get to go first or even second or maybe even third. Your opponent may get multiple goes before you. Which I quite like. I think I like that more than you. I like it, but the thing I don't like is that you have to find a bag to then put all the tokens in, and then you have to keep it just... Or a cup. Or a cup. Or any opaque. Any opaque thing that you can't see inside, which it's not a big thing, but I guess it maybe comes down a bit to our sort of like inherent British politeness. It's like, oh, well, we should take turns. We should take turns looking in the bag, even though I might draw out a token that's for you, and then you might take the bag and then draw out a token that's for me. And it's just a slightly extra faff of who's got the bag, who's going to take the token out, the social pressures. There is the social pressure of, have I taken too many of these tokens out, and therefore could I be accused of cheating? Exactly. Yeah, I do see that. However, I do quite like getting a double turn, and the double turn is not as overpowering as it is in some other games. No, because you're only dealing with between 3 and 5 models in a game. It's very rare that you're going to activate very many models before your opponent gets a chance, and it's not like getting a turn or getting a double turn in this game, unlike some games, is a chance to wipe your opponent out. It just means you're probably going to move somebody else a little bit more across the board. And it completely telegraph where you're going for your opponent, just to sort of move their sniper rifle, whatever it was you did to me, shoot me in the face. Yeah, there's that. I do like the fact that the game's mostly measured with this, which is a 10-inch ruler. It's got 2.5-inch measurements on it for short and medium length, and then a long for another 5 on the end. So 10 inches is mostly where nearly all of your measurements occur and all your movements and shooting occur for the most part. Which is quite nice, and all the ranges are very easy. They're just stated as short, medium or long, which I quite like. Or they have no range at all and you can shoot anybody you can see. The game's got a nice little campaign mode, which I like, and which is where I kind of liken it to Necromunda, because after we played our first game in Necromunda, which I kind of sort of enjoyed but found quite difficult, we then went into the campaign mode. Like, realised we needed a degree in accounting. I just don't care. I didn't care enough. I don't care any game enough. Yeah, no. To want to have to go through this hassle after every game. Yeah. Just no. So it literally has a very simple, we've covered this in the other video, so I won't go into it, but it has a very simple campaign mode, which doesn't overpower things, it doesn't. And it also, I always feel like with GW games, if you make the wrong decision, then you're basically crippled, whereas this, it doesn't really matter. It's a much lighter game than any GW type skirmish game, I think. Along with nice simple stat cards that only have 4 stats on them, those 4 stats translate very simply into the game mechanics themselves. You have a range of 3, you roll 3 dice. You have a melee of 3, when you hit someone, you roll 3 dice. Equally, the artifacts in the game, like maybe the baseball bat that you're trying to beat somebody over the head with, that'll have a maybe +2 on it, and then you roll 2 black dice, which are different to the yellow dice, but again, that's all covered in the rules, but yes, so it's very simple. I roll 5 + 2 dice, so that's 7 dice. And generally for every 6 you get, you do a wound to your opponent. Once they take as many wounds as they have on their card, either they're injured and they then go to their injured side, or they're dead if they're already injured. That's it. There's no faffing around.
Very easy. There's some I really like tokens actually. Hexagons, which is obviously a bonus, but that's like the heart tokens are very obviously wound tokens.
Yeah.
The biohazard tokens are very obviously the things that you can do mutations with. The artifacts are spanners, which kind of makes sense. And best of all, although I keep forgetting, is the little V for victory signs. So I really like the tokens. I really like the look and feel of the game. I like the miniatures. I love the fact that they're dry brushed because that helps pick out some of the detail.
Such a small thing, but the fact the models come pre-assembled and dry brushed just gives them already an extra level of detail that makes them feel like you don't have to do anything to them.
Yeah, they're not brilliant models. They're kind of more of the level of unmatched type scale. So they've got enough detail, but they are that kind of plastic that gets a bit bendy, so you can probably can't see it, but he's got a bit of a bendy las rifle there, or whatever it is, and his wings are a bit... So they're not perfect, but for the game as it is...
For the cost of it.
Yeah, I really like it, and they paint up really nicely, even with a fairly quick paint job, and they look pretty good, and they're quite stylised. I love the fact that the Gen Lab tribe have a guy with a duck's head and a fox's head and a moose. And then I quite like the guy with the diving bell jar, which is why I painted those two.
Whilst the models are simple, because they come pre-assembled and dry brushed, you don't really care.
No.
There's no kind of hassle there. You just pick up, you can start playing straight away. There's no, I bought this game, now I've got to spend 16 hours sticking stuff together and then I can play a game with it.
What weapons I put on it because it's WYSIWYG and which is a thing I hate. So yeah, it's very easy to get into. We've only got one box, as mentioned in the other video. There are two boxes as an expansion box, which has two different factions, another two factions in it. So you can play it 4-player, which I quite like too. It'd be quite a good night for a game club or something. You can just jump on, and because it's so quick to learn, you can very easily pick up with bringing new players. Explain it very quickly and easily.
As with everything, there's lots of good things to say about this. I think we've got a few points in there that we're maybe not entirely happy with, but also couldn't think of a better way to do it. All of the stuff comes on cards, so all your artifacts, all your starting gear, all your mutations, all that comes on cards. And your characters obviously have their cards as well. That can be very simple, but you can have your character card, they might have a starting gear card or two, they might have a mutation card or two, they might then pick up other artifacts. You can end up with lots and lots and lots of cards, and some of those cards might then have equipment that get damaged or things like that, which can then get damaged.
So you have wound tokens and you damage it, your cards have wound tokens, and then you knock it like that, and then the two wound tokens go over there, and you're like, oh, well, what was that on? I can't quite remember. Yeah, that is a good point. It's not too bad. It
could be a lot worse, and generally, if a wound token gets moved, mostly you can go, oh wait, no, he only took 2 wounds, and this third one must be on the weapon.
But it's partly not too bad because we've only ever played with 3 fighters.
Yeah.
If you start to have 5, maybe it would get
possibly get a little bit worse.
But it's not. I don't think it's anywhere near Marvel Crisis Protocol or Shatterpoint, where I've ended up with a side table with the stuff on, and then the tokens totally get muddled up, which is horrific. So yeah, it isn't ideal, but I think for the size of the game, it's not too bad, especially as the action tends to go on here. The stuff that goes on at the edges isn't too much, so you can just put your stuff on the edge of the board, and it's unlikely to interfere with play. Yeah,
so I don't think it's necessarily the worst thing, and it's probably the best way to handle the mechanics of the game. Can't think of anything better, really. It's a very minor point to complain about. Sometimes the game can feel a little bit prescribed in that you're like, well, I have very few things I can do, and so it's like, I'm obviously going to go over and do this now, or I'm obviously going to go and do that, or there's literally no good thing for me to do here. You can get that in nearly any game though, and I think generally when you do find yourself in that position in this game, it goes past very quickly because it's like, well, I'll just do that then as I've got nothing else, and your opponent does something and you can activate that.
I guess it's part of the problem with having so few models. Sometimes that one person who's left hasn't got a good choice. Or more often actually, it's when you go first and you're like, well, whatever I do now, this guy's not moving again for a while, so he's going to be in trouble.
And if your opponent happens to have one of those guns that can see the entire board, you're like, well, now I've got to run to cover.
I quite like the dynamism of it. I know we kind of said, oh, you might end up having a couple of goes without your opponent being able to play, but I sort of like that. I sort of like the chaos of the battlefield. Maybe your guys are making a run for it and they're trying to take over some territory, and that's why you've just, it's coincidence because you've drawn 2 tokens out of the bag for you, but you're playing a canny game and watching to see what happens. I kind of like that, how it can sort of feed into the narrative.
And because it's random, it's not like you can ever, people tend to come up with their set plays of I'm going to do A, B, C, D, and then they know that they can do that, and they can always get an advantage by doing things in in that particular order. This, it's random. You draw a thing out of the bag. You know, I want to do A, B, C, D, but I can only do A, and now you're going to do B, C, and D, and now I've got to wait until after all of that. So it does help break it up quite a bit, and it means that no two games are going to be the same.
And to add a bit of variation, you normally pick like 3 from the 5, so you can try it with different fighters, and they have quite varied stats. So the rabbit has got quite a good mutation, but he's really weak. So if if he ends up in the open and somebody shoots him, then you're probably not getting him back out alive.
Yeah, but he's so fast that he can leave so many other people just in the dust.
Yes.
But if you get like the fox, who's got the sniper rifle, if someone gets near him, he's probably going to fold up. But you've got to get near him, and if he has his chance, he's going to keep blowing your head off.
And if you've got the duck with the crossbow, you've got a duck with a crossbow.
What's not good about that? As mentioned, you use this ruler for pretty much everything, but you don't need to. It's only 2.5 inches, 2.5 inches and 5 inches, so you could just use a regular ruler or a tape measure as well.
Yeah, so you haven't got to like keep passing it back and forth, really. Not like bloody Marvel Crisis Protocols. Like, you've got the 2, have you got the 2? Oh no, sorry, I need the 3. I need the 3. What's the difference? Oh, well, about 7/9 of an inch.
Exactly, so annoying, so annoying. So you don't have to worry about that in this game. And the dice, whilst they do have symbols on, you can use just regular dice because it's only 1s and 6s that you care about. So that's again very easy.
So the dice are stylised but not totally bespoke, which I really like. Can be a bit irritating
sometimes
if you've got to use them and you've dropped one on the floor, but
it's just gone down the back of the cupboard, never to be seen again.
D6 will work. The boxes retail at £70 each. So if you want to play the whole game with 4 factions, it's 140 quid. You can get it a little bit cheaper on secondary sellers. So it's not a cheap investment for the whole shebang. I don't know enough about the Mutant Zone Wars universe to know whether there's other factions out there that they can bring out. It certainly feels like something that you would want to do if you were a games company.
So yeah, that's our opinion on this. I think overall we would definitely say if you like your skirmish games, your futuristic sort of stuff, your post-apocalyptic settings, and your simple to follow rules without too much crunch going on, this would be a game for you.
Absolutely, and if you really, really want to keep playing games that are created by Andy Chambers, another good reason to buy it.
So don't forget to like, subscribe and ring that bell as always.
Absolutely, and if you've got any comments, do put them below this video.
We'll try and answer everything that gets asked, and if there's anything we've missed or anything you'd like our opinion on, we'll try and fill you in on that too.
Absolutely, do let us know what your favouriteest skirmish games are. Maybe we'll check them out. We're kind of on a skirmish hunt right now.
So thanks for watching. Hopefully we'll see you again soon in the Zone Wars.
Or maybe in the Underworld.
Or maybe in the Mortal Realm.
Bye!